Here in Canada, we are in the aftermath of a federal election. Now, to hear her thoughts from a foreign perspective is our foreign affairs expert, Lisa Daftari. Lisa, the Canadian Liberal Party, led by Mark Carney, won last night's election. And one quote from Carney, and this is what he said April the 3rd in Ottawa. He goes and says, Canada is ready to take a leadership role in building a coalition of like-minded countries who share our values. Now, this is likely because Carney is going to start by expanding Canadian trade with Europe, Australia, and Asian democracies such as Japan. But do you feel his statement has some kind of new world order tones to it?
It does. And, it's interesting to watch the aftermath of your election to be framed as a either pro-Trump candidate or an anti-Trump candidate. What about Canada? I mean, are people really, and that's my question to Canadians, did you vote based on the candidate that was going to stand up to Trump or parallel Trump, or did you vote on the person who was going to take Canada in the better direction for the future? I do wish that we could do, kind of like a placebo effect and kind of hold this election in a vacuum. Had Donald Trump not expressed, 51st state sentiments and tariffs, et cetera, which candidate would have won from the Canadian perspective of, changing directions in Canada? Is it that Canada just can't vote? This is the fourth, term for a liberal, administration that you're going to have. Is that all Donald Trump's fault? Would this have gone in a different direction had Donald Trump not expressed those things? It's very much interesting to watch now as Carney wants to be the Donald Trump, in the sense that he believes that he's going to switch world order. He's going to be the leader of this new idea, this new way forward. Now, months ago when Donald Trump won his election and he had his inauguration in January, it was the opposite sentiment, that there would be a wave across the world, that there would be, right-wing candidates would become more popular and the pendulum would swing to the right. Now we're going to watch as perhaps as things are settling with the Trump administration, and obviously he's standing up to the rest of the world, how things are settling in different parts, and Canada perhaps being the first of those to show the way.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of Canadians may feel that after all the tariff concerns and these 51st state comments, after they settle, there could be some buyer's remorse with who they chose as a leader. Now, Carney has also warned that U.S. President Donald Trump is, quote, trying to break us, citing concerns over these 51st state comments, as well as our water and resources. Now, Carney appears to be talking tough now, but how do you see this relationship panning out with Trump?
Look, regardless of who would have become the Canadian leader, there has to be, some sort of reconciliation at some point. Now, if you and I were Carney, we would also use that to our advantage to say, I'm going to be the one to stand up to Trump. We're not going to take this. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. And perhaps he won this election based on that positioning. But what will happen in the months to come is that perhaps he will stand up to Trump, but at the end of the day, the two will have to work together. National security, securing the border, working together to bring these, the prosperity to all the different industries and all the different trade patterns and relationships that are in existence, and perhaps could be more than that if things settle the way that the Trump administration envisions them settling. The point being, regardless of what does happen, Carney will have to be a Canadian leader and not just the person who will stand up to Trump or sit down with Trump. And I think that is what Canadians have to deal with, grapple with, kind of accept in the days and months to come.
Now, still on Trump, he marked his 100th day in office. Now, many are pointing out this was the busiest first 100 days of any president in recent memory, with the commander-in-chief issuing a slew of executive orders and pursuing a litany of initiatives designed to radically overhaul the federal government. So let's hear a summary of what all he's been up to.
How much time do we have, Naveed? Look, a lot of people are happy with a lot of the proactive approach to ending wars and stopping terrorism and going after the schools that have the pro-Hamas protesters. A lot of that is getting positive grades this morning as we commemorate 100 days. There's also the economy that he's taking a proactive approach. But there's also a lot of uncertainty. So, with the tariffs, how is that going? We don't know. It's really a difficult time to give. It's almost like an interim, report card where you don't know where the final is going to be at. So you just can't give a grade right now. But I think a lot of people are kind of nervous about how this uncertainty will eventually settle. But we heard from Besant this morning, head of Treasury, that that gap, that uncertainty is going to be narrowing sooner rather than later. And I think that's a wonderful sign. I think it's going to be very positive. That you need to look no further than our stock market going up and down erratically based on the comments coming from the White House. So there is a lot of uncertainty. So I think, let's talk on day 150 or 200, and then we'll see where things are going. But I think it's very difficult to give him a report card. I will say my focus is on foreign policy. A lot of good things are happening. We're going after the Houthis, we're giving designations, we're getting sanctions. The Iran deal, I'm uncertain about that, but I think that we're not going to settle for anything less than a real significant way of curbing the Iran regime.
Now, also within these first 100 days, the National Counterterrorism Center has identified nearly 1,200 alleged terrorists illegally in the U.S. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, and this is something, obviously the Canadians are our neighbors to the north, and we share in common is that, look, regardless of political party, love him or hate him, Trump is doing the right thing by stopping this flow of illegal migrants coming into the country because of all the nefarious actors that are coming in. There is no way to vet them. We know that they're already here. 1,200 is a significant number when you think about all the different bad actors and groups and associations and radicalized individuals that could be here, people who are members of gangs and terror groups and others. So I think it's very much a something that we should obviously collaborate on, is keeping our border safe, our southern border, our northern border. I know it's trickling up and trickling from our southern border, but into Canada as well. So something that we definitely want to keep our eye on and continue supporting is safe borders, and of course our national security measures that are actually picking out these individuals and getting them back, and getting them into prisons, by the way. So I think it's interesting to note the number of bad actors that are coming in.
Now, turning our eyes over to international news, a report says cash transfers from United Nations organizations to Gaza are actually being exploited by Hamas.
Yes, and this is not anything new, but this report is in fact new because there has been a new instance of this that has been unearthed. So basically, we know that the aid trucks that are going in for the Palestinians is being hoarded by Hamas officials, and then they're starving the people, or they're not getting them the medical need the medical supplies that they need, of course. And what do the international headlines say? That Israel or the United Nations or the United States has their fingerprints all over this, that the Palestinians are not getting X, Y, and Z. Well, they're getting X, Y, and Z. It's just that they're under the leadership of Hamas and they cannot get those things. That's number one. Number two is anything that's coming from the United Nations. So it's either cash or aid or supplies or anything coming in. Even the workers, the UNRWA, which is the organization that is entrusted, it's a UN organization that is entrusted solely created to help the Palestinian cause. Members of UNRWA, meaning they were employed by the United Nations, were actually part of the October 7th massacre. There are terrorists that are working for the United Nations and are trying to help. So there's a lot to really uncover here. But the point being, unless we get rid of these radical elements within the Palestinian people, within the leadership of Hamas, there is no way for a future of these people living side by side in that region.
Our foreign affairs expert, Lisa Daftari, thanks so much for your time today.
My pleasure.
I'm Naveen Day. On behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News, thanks for watching.